Taurus, this week asks you to protect what matters without turning your whole life into a battlefield. That distinction is everything. The Seven of Wands is a card of defense, position, pressure, and conviction, but for you the deeper question is not whether you can hold your ground. You can. The question is whether the ground you are holding still deserves your energy. The cosmic weather is intentionally uncluttered in this reading. No verified astrological events or house map transits were supplied for this week, so I will not add timing claims or celestial explanations that are not supported. Your tarot card carries the message on its own, and that message is precise. Defense is sacred when it protects a value, but exhausting when it protects an ego. Your card is the Seven of Wands. This is the image of someone who has a position worth defending, but who is also under pressure. It can represent competition, criticism, competing demands, or the simple fatigue of having to prove that your boundaries are real. For Taurus, the card can feel familiar because you are not easily moved once you have decided something matters. That loyalty is one of your strengths. But loyalty becomes expensive when it attaches itself to outdated obligations. Your central thesis this week is, defending your peace is different from defending your pride. In love, the Seven of Wands asks you to notice where you are bracing before anything has actually happened. In a relationship, you may be anticipating conflict because a subject has been difficult before. That can make you enter a conversation already armored, which sometimes creates the very defensiveness you hope to avoid. Try to identify what you are truly protecting. Is it respect? Time? Emotional safety? Trust? Name the value, because a boundary built around a clear value is easier to communicate than a wall built around accumulated irritation. If you are single, this card can show standards becoming stronger, but it can also reveal overcorrection. There is a difference between refusing to settle and refusing to be surprised. Connection always contains some uncertainty. You do not need to make yourself endlessly available, but you also do not have to treat every new person as a threat to your stability. Protect your center without making your center inaccessible. At work, the Seven of Wands may resonate strongly if you feel surrounded by demands, opinions, revisions, or people competing for your attention. The temptation is to defend everything equally. Do not. Some tasks are strategic, some are noise, and some are responsibilities you accepted by habit. Your advantage this week comes from selective resistance. Decide what deserves a firm no, what deserves negotiation, and what is not worth the emotional cost of opposition. If you are defending an idea, proposal, or professional position, strengthen your argument rather than simply repeating it louder. Taurus persistence is powerful when it is paired with evidence. Ask yourself what would make your position more credible, more practical, and easier for other people to understand. The Seven of Wands is not only about standing firm. It is about standing on something. With money, this card can highlight protective instincts. You may want to hold tightly to resources, avoid risk, or defend a financial decision. That can be wise, especially if your instinct is grounded in actual numbers. But fear can disguise itself as prudence. Look at the difference between I am preserving stability and I am refusing to adapt because change makes me uncomfortable. A budget, savings goal, or spending boundary is useful when it creates freedom, not when it becomes another source of constant vigilance. For health and energy, the message is clear: stop treating exhaustion as proof of commitment. The Seven of Wands often looks like effort under pressure, and Taurus can endure more than other people realize. But endurance is not infinite. Pay attention to the activities, conversations, and environments that make you feel as if you are constantly defending your right to rest, your pace, or your needs. Your nervous system should not have to win an argument before it is allowed to recover. For your week day by day, use the days as a structure for conscious choices rather than predictions. On Wednesday, list the 3 things currently demanding the most energy from you. Beside each one, write whether it is essential, negotiable, or optional. This is the beginning of selective defense. On Thursday, practice one clean boundary. Make it short enough that you do not need a second paragraph to justify it. I cannot take that on this week. That time does not work for me. I need more information before I agree. Notice how much energy is saved when clarity replaces over-explaining. On Friday, look for the difference between criticism and useful feedback. Not every disagreement is an attack. If someone points out a weakness in your plan, ask whether strengthening that weakness would actually help you. Defensiveness becomes wisdom when it knows what to let in. On Saturday, protect something restorative. It could be sleep, a meal without interruption, time outside, a creative practice, or simply an hour with your phone away from you. Treat rest as territory worth defending. On Sunday, reconsider one battle you have been carrying for too long. Ask what would happen if you stopped trying to win it. Some conflicts continue because both sides are still feeding them. Withdrawal can be a strategic act. On Monday, return to the responsibility that genuinely matters. Give it focused effort without multitasking. The Seven of Wands is strongest when attention is concentrated rather than scattered across 10 small defenses. On Tuesday, review your week and notice where your boundaries created more peace and where they created more tension. A good boundary may disappoint someone, but it should not require you to stay emotionally activated all day. Your 3 journal prompts are these. First prompt: what am I currently defending because it is truly valuable, and what am I defending because changing my mind would bruise my pride? Second prompt: where do I over-explain a boundary because I am afraid that a simple no will not be respected? Third prompt: which conflict would lose power if I stopped giving it my attention? For your weekly guidance, complete a boundary ladder. Draw 4 horizontal lines on a page, like steps. On the bottom step, write one low-level irritation you usually tolerate until it becomes resentment. On the next step, write the early boundary that could address it. On the third step, write the consequence you will use if the boundary is ignored. On the top step, write the value you are actually protecting. For example, interrupted evenings, then I am unavailable after 7, then I will respond the next morning, then the value, rest. This exercise trains you to defend what matters before you are exhausted enough to become reactive. There is a second lesson in the Seven of Wands that matters for you. Not everyone needs to agree with your boundary for the boundary to be valid. Taurus can sometimes wait for external cooperation before feeling safe enough to hold a line. But a boundary is not a vote. It is information about what you will and will not participate in. If someone dislikes it, that discomfort belongs to the conversation, but it does not automatically invalidate your decision. At the same time, be careful not to confuse stubbornness with self-respect. A strong position can still be updated. If new evidence arrives, you are allowed to adjust. If someone offers a better solution, you are allowed to accept it. If the thing you were defending is no longer useful, you are allowed to put the wand down. The point is not to remain immovable. The point is to remain connected to your values while circumstances move around you. Taurus, your power this week is not measured by how long you can hold a difficult position. It is measured by how wisely you choose your positions. The strongest wall is useless if it surrounds something you no longer want. The strongest boundary is beautiful when it protects a life you are actively trying to build. Your weekly affirmation is, I protect what nourishes me, release what only provokes me, and stand firm without becoming rigid. Carry that with you through September 1st. Subscribe so your next weekly reading is waiting for you. Trust the timing. The stars have spoken.